They say movement is medicine. But for most people past 50, 60, or 70, exercise sounds like punishment, something loud, sweaty, and meant for younger bodies. Yet here's the surprising truth. After age 50, the body doesn't need more exercise. It needs better exercise. Research from the University of Birmingham in 2019 found that adults in their 70s who trained just twice a week maintained muscle strength almost equal to that of active 40-year-olds. Think about that. 2 small sessions a week, and their bodies responded as if time had paused. You see, the human body never forgets how to heal, how to grow, how to renew itself. What it needs isn't intensity. It's consistency, breath, and movement that teaches balance and strength. Barbara O'Neill often says, the body is designed to restore itself when given the right conditions. And that restoration begins with motion. Not frantic workouts, but gentle, precise patterns that wake up circulation, protect joints, and remind your nervous system. You're still alive, and you're still strong. Imagine a morning in your 60s. The kettle whistles softly. You stretch your arms to reach the teacup on the top shelf. Your shoulder moves freely, no sharp pain. You bend down to tie your shoes, steady on your feet. Your heart beats calmly. That's simple freedom. To move without fear, without stiffness. That's the quiet miracle of right movement. It isn't vanity or competition. It's dignity. It's independence. For most of us, aging sneaks in quietly. A skipped walk here. A sore knee there. And slowly, the body begins to forget its patterns. But when we reintroduce these 7 essential exercises, the ones Barbara O'Neill calls the body's reset switches, we teach every cell how to work together again. From posture to digestion, from heart rhythm to sleep, everything begins to improve because movement is the language your body listens to most deeply. Science supports this. Harvard's Department of Public Health found in a 2020 study that adults over 60 who performed balanced resistance and mobility exercises reduced their risk of premature death by 47% compared to those who only walked. That's not just about living longer, it's about living better. Because every muscle you strengthen is a promise to your future self. I will not give up my freedom easily. Now here's the heart of it. After 50, the right exercises aren't about burning calories or building big muscles. They're about communication between your brain, your joints, your balance, and your breath. Barbara's Magnificent 7, as she calls them, aren't complicated. One builds stability, another improves posture, one restores hip mobility, another awakens the back muscles that keep you upright and confident. And when done regularly, even for 10 minutes a day, these movements become a kind of quiet prayer, a way of saying thank you to the body for carrying you this far. The truth is, aging doesn't weaken us. Neglect does. When we stop moving, the body assumes it's no longer needed. But the moment we move again, gently and with awareness, it begins to repair what was lost. That's why this message matters. Not because of how we look, but because of what's at stake. The ability to live on our own terms, to garden, to cook, to walk with grandchildren, to greet each morning without pain. These 7 exercises are not a workout plan. They're an invitation. To trust that your body still listens. To believe that strength isn't gone. It's simply waiting to be reawakened. And when we finally understand how the body responds to these small changes, everything about health begins to make sense. Exercise number 1. Gentle strength training is one of the most underestimated forms of medicine for the aging body. Many people past 50 believe that lifting weights or using resistance bands might be too hard or even risky. But in truth, it's one of the safest and most powerful ways to preserve vitality. When you engage your muscles against light resistance, you're not just keeping them toned. You're sending a biological signal deep into your cells that says, we still need strength. Inside every muscle fiber are mitochondria, tiny power plants that convert oxygen into energy. With regular resistance exercise, even as little as twice a week, these mitochondria multiply and grow more efficient, improving how your cells use oxygen and nutrients. The result? More energy, faster recovery, and a body that feels awake rather than tired. Consider Helen, a 68-year-old grandmother who began using small dumbbells and resistance bands after years of avoiding exercise. At first, lifting just 2 kilograms felt difficult. But within 3 months, she noticed something subtle. Her grocery bags felt lighter, her posture improved, and she could rise from her garden bench without holding onto the armrest. What changed wasn't just her muscle size, it was her cellular resilience. Her muscles had begun communicating better with her nervous system, increasing balance, reaction time, and confidence. A 2019 study from the University of Birmingham confirmed this transformation at the cellular level. Older adults who practiced light strength training twice weekly maintained muscle protein, synthesis rates nearly identical to active adults in their 40s. That means their bodies continued building and repairing muscle tissue just as efficiently as people decades younger. This isn't about bodybuilding, it's about longevity. When muscles stay active, they support hormone balance, blood sugar regulation, and even cognitive function. In short, gentle strength work doesn't just make you stronger, it teaches your body how to stay alive, responsive, and deeply capable, no matter your age. Exercise number 2. Balance and mobility are the quiet guardians of independence. They often go unnoticed, until one day, a small stumble reminds us how fragile stability can become with age. Yet balance isn't simply about muscles or joints. It's a conversation between the brain, the inner ear, the eyes, and the body's sensory nerves. Each time you shift your weight or take a step, millions of neural messages travel from your feet to your brain and back again in a fraction of a second. When we stop moving or limit our range of motion, these neural pathways weaken, like a radio signal fading with distance. But when we practice balance and mobility exercises, we're reactivating those pathways, strengthening what scientists call proprioception, or the body's awareness of its position in space. A 2018 study published in the Journal of the American Geriatric Society found that older adults who practice simple balance training 3 times per week reduce their risk of falls by 34%. This isn't just about safety. It's about confidence. Take Robert, a 72-year-old retired teacher who once avoided stairs after a small fall in his kitchen. He began doing 5 minutes of single-leg stands while brushing his teeth in gentle ankle circles each morning. Within weeks, he noticed he could move through crowds without gripping his cane so tightly. His steps became more certain, his stride longer, and his fear of falling began to fade. What was really happening beneath the surface was neurological. His sensory nerves were firing faster, recalibrating his sense of balance. The vestibular system in his inner ear, responsible for spatial orientation, began to communicate more clearly with his muscles and joints. That's the quiet miracle of movement. Each small motion retrains the body's built-in GPS. When balance returns, so does freedom, the kind that lets you walk into life steady and unafraid. Exercise number 3. Movement truly is medicine for the heart. Not in a poetic sense, but in the most literal biological way possible. Each time you stretch, walk, or move your body rhythmically, your muscles act like a second heart, gently pumping blood back toward your chest and lungs. This natural motion improves circulation, oxygen delivery, and the flexibility of your blood vessels. Inside these vessels, tiny sensors known as endothelial cells respond to movement by releasing nitric oxide, a molecule that relaxes arteries and keeps them supple. When we move less, these cells grow sluggish, and our arteries stiffen, leading to higher blood pressure and fatigue. But even low-impact exercise, like brisk walking or mindful stretching, can reverse that process within weeks, boosting oxygen uptake and heart efficiency by as much as 20%. According to research from the American Heart Association in 2021, think of your body like a river. When water flows, it stays clear and full of life. When it stagnates, it clouds, thickens, and loses vitality. Movement keeps the inner river flowing. Margaret, a 65-year-old who once struggled with heavy legs and shortness of breath, began walking every evening after dinner, just 15 minutes at first. Within a month, she noticed she could take the stairs without stopping to rest. Her doctor later told her that her circulation and resting heart rate had both improved significantly. What Margaret didn't see was the invisible transformation. Her capillaries, those delicate blood vessels, had reopened dormant pathways, allowing oxygen to reach tissues that had been undernourished for years. That's the quiet power of consistent motion. It reawakens the body's natural rhythm, refreshing every cell with the simple act of moving. The heart doesn't ask for marathons, only movement, done often and with care. Exercise number 4. Consistency matters more than intensity, especially as we age. The body thrives on rhythm, not exhaustion. When we move regularly, even in small amounts, we train ourselves to expect activity. This gentle, predictable movement keeps muscles active, circulation strong, and inflammation low. Biologically, consistency helps regulate a crucial process called mitochondrial adaptation, where the energy centers of your cells learn to produce fuel more efficiently. When you overtrain or exercise only once in a while, the body experiences stress but doesn't adapt. But when movement is steady and moderate, mitochondria multiply, inflammation markers drop, and your body begins to repair itself at the cellular level. In fact, researchers at Stanford University in 2020 found that adults over 60 who exercised moderately 5 days a week reduced chronic inflammation by 32%, lowering the risk of arthritis, heart disease, and even cognitive decline. Imagine your body as a finely tuned instrument. Playing it softly and regularly keeps the strings flexible and in tune. Ignore it for weeks, and the strings tighten and lose their sound. That's how movement works. It's less about intensity, and more about keeping your body in tune with life. Consider Arif, a 67-year-old who once tried intense gym workouts but gave up after constant soreness. He later switched to a daily 20-minute walk and light stretching routine. Within 2 months, he noticed something different. Not just in his stamina, but in his mood, his sleep, and even how clearly he could think. His body had adjusted to a sustainable rhythm, one it could maintain joyfully. That's the gift of consistency. It turns exercise from a task into a conversation with your body. Calm, steady, and deeply healing. And over time, those small, gentle steps build a foundation of strength that no burst of effort can ever replace. Exercise number 5 for your posture is more than how we look. It's how our body communicates with gravity, breath, and energy. Every time we slump, our lungs compress slightly, our diaphragm stiffens, and less oxygen reaches the bloodstream. This subtle change ripples through every system. The brain receives less oxygen, fatigue sets in faster, and digestion slows because the internal organs are gently squeezed out of their ideal alignment. But when we stand or sit upright, something extraordinary happens. Our rib cage opens, the diaphragm moves freely, and oxygen flows more efficiently into the blood. This oxygen-rich circulation nourishes not just the muscles, but the brain, improving clarity, balance, and calm. A study from the University of Sydney in 2017 found that older adults who practiced daily posture exercises improved lung capacity by 15%, a change strong enough to enhance both energy and mental sharpness. Think of your spine as the body's central highway. Every nerve impulse traveling from brain to body moves along this road. When it's straight and free, messages flow smoothly. When it's bent or compressed, traffic slows. Barbara O'Neill often reminds her students that poor posture isn't just about appearance. It's an early sign of imbalance in the nervous system. Take Nora, a 70-year-old painter who began feeling chronic neck tension and occasional dizziness. She started doing gentle wall stretches and seated posture resets, lifting her chest, relaxing her shoulders, and breathing deeply for 5 minutes twice a day. Within a few weeks, the headaches faded, and she noticed her brushstrokes were steadier, her breathing slower. What really changed was her alignment, not only physical but mental. Her body had rediscovered its vertical grace, where energy moves freely, breath flows deeper, and life itself feels lighter. In the quiet art of good posture, health begins to rise again, one mindful breath at a time. Exercise number 6. Mindful movement is the bridge between body and brain, a conversation that rewires the nervous system through awareness. Every time we move consciously, with attention to breath and sensation, the brain's motor cortex and cerebellum communicate more clearly with muscles and joints. This process, known as neuroplasticity, allows the nervous system to form new pathways, improving coordination, balance, and emotional stability. Unlike automatic exercise, where movement happens without thought, mindful motion strengthens the body's internal map, its ability to sense where each limb is and how it moves through space. A 2020 study from Harvard Medical School found that seniors who practiced mindful movement such as slow stretching or controlled walking, improved neural communication and balance by 28% in just 8 weeks. Consider Farah, a 66-year-old who had trouble with coordination after years of sitting at a desk. She began doing slow, breathing-based mobility sessions, gentle arm circles, shifting her weight from foot to foot, noticing how her body responded. Within a month, she no longer felt disconnected from her movements. She described it as if her body and mind were finally in sync again. What was really happening was neurological repair. Her sensory nerves were relearning how to interpret motion, balance, and space. Think of mindful movement like tuning a musical instrument. Every breath, every slow stretch adjusts the strings of your nervous system until the whole body plays in harmony. This harmony doesn't just reduce stiffness. It calms the mind, lowers cortisol, and restores confidence. When movement becomes conscious, it transforms from exercise into awareness, a quiet training of the body to listen, respond, and trust itself again. In that gentle dialogue between motion and mindfulness, the body remembers how to move not just efficiently, but gracefully. Exercise number 7. The body has an extraordinary ability to heal itself, but only when we remind it that it's still needed. Gentle, conscious movement is the signal that awakens this self-repair system. Every stretch, every slow twist of a joint sends microscopic mechanical messages to your cells, activating special proteins called myokines. These tiny messengers travel through the bloodstream, reducing inflammation, repairing tissues, and even improving brain function. When we move with awareness, not rushing or forcing, we turn on these natural healing pathways. The National Institute on Aging found in 2019 that light physical activity can increase the body's production of cellular repair proteins by up to 40%, proving that healing isn't just about rest, it's about the right kind of movement. Picture movement as sunlight for your cells. Just as plants need light to grow, your tissues need gentle motion to regenerate. When we sit still for too long, circulation slows, lymphatic flow becomes stagnant, and waste products accumulate. But the moment we begin to move, even simple motions like shoulder rolls or walking in the garden, oxygen and nutrients rush to every corner of the body, flushing toxins and feeding tired cells. Eleanor, a 74-year-old former nurse, discovered this truth after recovering from hip surgery. Instead of pushing herself to exercise, she focused on mindful, pain-free movements each morning, gentle stretches, slow breathing, and short walks. Within months, her recovery surpassed expectations. She said, "It felt like my body was waking up cell by cell." What she felt was the body's wisdom responding to kindness, not strain. That's the quiet secret of movement. When you approach it with care and gratitude, the body listens. It begins to mend, rebuild, and rediscover its vitality. Not through effort, but through gentle, intentional motion that says, "I still belong here." In the end, it's never about doing everything. It's about doing the few things that truly matter. These 7 simple movements aren't complicated routines or passing trends. They're nature's original medicine. The quiet rituals that remind your body how to heal and stay strong. You don't need perfection. You don't need to push or rush. What your body needs is your presence. Small, steady actions that build strength one breath at a time. Every gentle stretch, every mindful step, every moment you choose movement over stillness is a message to your cells. We're still growing. We're still alive. Progress comes quietly, and it's often felt before it's seen, in a deeper breath, a steadier walk, or a night of easier sleep. So start today, not as a challenge, but as a gift to yourself. Begin with one movement, one promise, one small act of care, because the body is always listening, always ready to respond. And with each step forward, you remind it how to live fully, gracefully, and well.